Shalom, my friend. This is wonderful to be able to be with you today. And again, you know, for this week, and that we can bring you some fresh news from what's happening here in Israel. A lot of things happening, and there is really an acceleration of things. Now, this week there was the day of Tish B'Av, which means the 9th of Av, which is a very important date for the Jewish people and should be also for us. It was the commemoration of the destruction of the two temples. We arrive always the time of the 9th of Av. And there was some other thing, wasn't it, Martin? Like there was in the Spanish Inquisition, there is a lot of things what always happen the 9th of Av. And the last new one was Gush Katif. So that day you fast for 25 hours, no water, no bread, no food, and it's really to mourn. But now some people, there is a movement who is saying, we don't want just to fast, we need to start to yearn to see the rebuilding of the temple. And so there is a mixture of things happening now for the people. They say we want to mourn, but we hope really that this year was the last fast. And like in Zechariah 8 is written that there was day of fasting because of the destruction of the temple, but it will be changed and turned into rejoicing, which means that the temple will be rebuilt. So this was very interesting. People usually, they pray, they read Lamentation, which is a book written by Jeremiah, but there was things that happening even this week because of that. There is something, you know, the Jewish people came here, the Temple Mount was given in their hands, and they gave it back in 67, which was maybe a big mistake, or God knows, but it's very interesting. It's like, again, 40 years after we're still around, and the Temple Mount hasn't been rebuilt yet. So we pray that it will rebuild very soon. And there is this thing also coming now for Christians, that they see also that is important. Now, I was doing a bit of research, and you see in the New Testament, we don't speak too much about the temple, but because, and I was searching, and I was like, why is like that? And God was telling me, because there is so much in the Old Testament that all the principles are already put there. But this is some very good, interesting thing that happened also this week. It's like, because of all these things, the Jewish people are redoing and preparing all the artifacts and all the things that will be need to be done for the temple to be rebuilt, and all the services will have to be done. So you need to have priests, you need to have the vestment for the priest. And again, if you read in Leviticus 24, verse 5 and 9, and they speak about the showbread. And it's very interesting because just right now, the showbread has been baked, knit, and baked again in Israel since about 2,000 years. So this is just amazing because it's like a very special process. They needed to find the recipe again, how to do it and all, and you can find more, and I will put some in the update. I just find that today. The Temple Institute do something quite special about it. And there was a miracle that the showbread could stay fresh for 1 week. And when you think about, especially here, the weather, and the dryness or sometimes the dampness during the winter, it's just amazing to think that the bread could stay fresh for 1 week. And now they can still do it exactly like that. They work very hard, and it was Professor Amar, which is from Bar Ilan University, and they've done a lot of work, him and also a team, and they've done this miracle that they can have the showbread again, will be used again for the priest in the temple. So things are moving on day by day, things are changing in Israel.
And the latest news, Natalie, from Israel on Thursday, July 22nd, 2010 is that, and this is from the Jerusalem Post, if we can get that on the camera, it says, IDF kills 2 terrorists in Gaza border fight. And the Israeli army killed 2 terrorists in the Gaza area during a border fight. It says that after weeks of relative quiet, clashes erupted along the border with the Gaza Strip as Israeli troops opened fire at a terrorist cell approaching the border fence. 2 Palestinians were killed and several others were wounded by Israeli gunfire near Bet Hanun, which is in the north of the Gaza Strip. The dead men were reportedly known Islamic Jihad operatives. The cell, consisting of several men, was seen approaching the border. Israeli army commanders authorized a nearby tank to open fire, fearing that the terrorist cell planned to launch an anti-tank missile at soldiers who were patrolling the border. And this is the border, remember, where Gilad Shalit, the soldier, was abducted. Since Operation Cast Lead 19 months ago, the Israeli army has noticed a sharp drop of terrorist attacks. However, Israeli army commanders were warning of a Hamas, Islamic Jihad possible terrorist attack on that border. Now, on the other border, in the north of the country, that's in the Lebanon border, it says the Israeli army expects Hezbollah, that's the terrorist group who are operating in Lebanon, to target roads in the next war. And it says, fearing massive missile fire on main roads and bases in a future war with Hezbollah in Syria, the Israeli army will in the near future test its ability to move troops and equipment throughout the country and into enemy territory during a conflict. The exercise, under the supervision of the Army's Technological and Logistics Directorate, will include hundreds of vehicles and officers. Most of the drill will be conducted in computerized simulations. The drill comes amid intensive Israeli army preparations for a possible war with Hezbollah in the Lebanon. And it says that it will be practicing in urban settings, in villages. And 2 weeks ago, the Israeli army, for the first time, declassified evidence of Hezbollah's growing presence inside the villages, using the village of El Kayam, located 4 kilometers north of Israel, as an example. The IDF showed extensive footage, videos and maps of homes that Hezbollah has taken over. So there is a huge movement of Hezbollah troops in the north of the country.
They were saying, I was reading an article, and they were saying it was 20,000 terrorist troops coming close, and after even 5,000 were bringing like special terrorists. So they are really doing some work. You know, they are preparing for war, and we know that. We can see that, and we can hear it, and we can sense it here.
We can look at another newspaper. You can see here the Jerusalem Post. It says, Obama tells Netanyahu he's ready to come to Israel. Obama tells Netanyahu he's ready to come to Israel, which is bad news because it means...
I don't think he will come.
It's very bad news because he's divided. They want to divide up the land of Israel. And also in news today it says, United States Jewish leaders grateful for 3-month respite on Rotem's conversion bill. Now, not many of you may have heard of this, but they're trying to push through a bill in the Israeli Knesset, Israeli Parliament, regarding conversion. That's the people who want to convert to being Jewish. And it says, this is from New York, many American Jewish leaders are relieved that the conversion bill sponsored by the Member of Parliament, David Roten, did not come up for a vote in the Knesset before its summer recess, the Israeli Parliament having a break. But they are still reeling from the turbulence it has caused and hope that the 3 months until the legislature reconvenes will be used to revise or block it. The bill, which would give, listen to this, the bill would give the chief rabbinate control over all conversions in Israel, would implicitly and explicitly determine who is a Jew. And this is very serious because it may mean, for example, that a lot of Jewish people who became Jews in a non-Orthodox background, maybe in a Reform synagogue, would not be classified as Jews if they had to suddenly return to Israel. And so this is a very serious bill that is being debated by the Israeli parliament.
And they are saying that, you know, they might have a split among the Jewish people, which is not what you want right now at all. So it's very important. So we really need to pray, and you need to pray, and we need to be together. And we are really happy, and it's with joy that we are coming to you and bringing you some news. And we pray that we'll be able to do that more and more often. We'll have our, some people behind the camera, our 2 children, and Thomas is working very hard in the editing suite. And Rebecca now is working with the MDA, which is the ambulance system, and she's helping. She's the first Christian who is working with them. So there is really something that's happening. The Jewish people see that also Christian needs to work with them to be stronger. So we know that there is a lot of tension, there is a lot of trouble, but we know that our redemption is very close. So it was so wonderful to be able to be with you again. We're so happy to be able to bring you some fresh news from Israel. There is conflict, there is tension, but we know that our redemption is very near. So have a great weekend. We bless you from Jerusalem.